Have you ever rested all weekend, full couch mode, blanket, tea, maybe a candle, the whole spa day at home situation, and then woken up Monday morning feeling like you got hit by a bus that was also carrying emotional baggage? Yeah, me too. And I used to think that meant something was wrong with me, like maybe I was resting incorrectly, maybe I needed better tea, or maybe I needed a second blanket. But here's what's actually happening. And once I explain it, you're going to feel so vindicated that you may want to pause this video, call a friend, and say, I knew it. I knew it wasn't just me. If you appreciate this kind of content, gently tap the like button and let's get into it. So, your nervous system has one job, and that job is to decide at all times whether you are safe or whether something is about to eat you. That's it. That's the whole thing. And it is very, very good at this job, like annoyingly good. Because neuroscientist Dr. Stephen Porges developed something called polyvagal theory, which basically says your autonomic nervous system is running a constant background scan. Think of it like the world's most anxious IT department, checking every few seconds. Threat? No threat. Threat? And when it senses safety, your heart rate settles, your muscles relax, and your body finally goes into actual restore mode. That's the good stuff. But when your nervous system reads the room as not safe, it fires up your fight or flight response. Heart rate up, muscles on standby, brain on high alert. Now here's the part that should be illegal. The threat doesn't have to be real. It doesn't have to be a bear. It doesn't have to be a car accident. It can be the mental image of an unanswered text from your mom. It can be the vague sense that you forgot something important, but you can't remember what. It can be your own brain going, you should be doing something right now, while you are literally lying on the couch. Your nervous system does not care. It sees input, possible threat, activate, every time. So you're sitting there with your chamomile tea thinking you're relaxing, and your nervous system is in the background going, did anyone feed the dog? What was that noise? Is that email still unanswered? Stay alert, stay alert. That is not rest. That is sitting down while stressed. Now, let's talk about what happens when this goes on for a long time, because most of us aren't talking about one stressful weekend. We're talking about years. I want to tell you about Timon. Timon was my tricolored beagle, and in his later years, he developed a brain tumor that left him blind, which meant that every single night, without fail, at 3 a.m., he needed to go outside. And because I had to walk all the way across the house to let him out and then wait for him, or I'd find the mess he already made, I was too awake to go back to sleep. So I would just start my day at 3 a.m. every day. And then I would drive to school, walk into my classroom at 7:20, and spend the next 45 minutes getting everything ready. PowerPoint up, supplies organized, OneNote open on my tablet, emails checked, lesson plans reviewed. From the outside, I looked like I had it completely together. People used to ask me how I organized everything, how I came up with my ideas. And then bell would ring. And every single time, I felt this heavy wave of dread, like, it's too soon, I'm not ready, I can't do this today. But I did it anyway. I smiled, taught, I showed up fully for those kids, because that's what you do when you're good at your job and completely empty underneath. There's a term researchers use for what was happening in my body during that season: allostatic load. Think of it as a tab your body runs every time your stress response fires up without a full recovery afterward. Every 3 a.m. wake up, every I'm fine, every morning you performed competence while running on fumes. Your body writes it all down, and the tab gets longer. Research shows that work stress, caregiving responsibilities, and chronic sleep disruption are all independently associated with higher allostatic load in middle-aged women. And midlife women are twice as likely as men to experience burnout symptoms. Not because we're weaker, but because the tabs compound. The hormonal shifts of perimenopause, the mental load, the caregiving, the invisible labor that never makes it onto anyone else's to-do list. It adds up in the body whether we acknowledge it or not. So, here's the cruel joke about rest. Ready? When your nervous system has been in protective mode for months or years, passive rest doesn't reach it. You can lie completely still and your body will still be quietly, politely panicking. Because burnout isn't just tiredness. It's what happens when a dysregulated nervous system has been running at full tilt for so long that it finally just collapses. The exhaustion, the emotional flatness, the feeling that even fun things feel like effort. That's your body forcing the rest it couldn't take voluntarily. And you cannot schedule your way out of that. I've tried. I made a very organized, color-coded schedule. My nervous system did not care. So what does actually help? Your nervous system needs proof of safety, not stillness, proof. For me, that proof lives at the end of my driveway. I live in the mountains on a dirt and gravel road at 4,000 feet. Pine trees, cedar, oak, deer in the yard, turkeys wandering through, the occasional hawk overhead, and yes, we do have bears and mountain lions that have been known to come through, which is its own kind of morning surprise, but that's a different video. When I walk out my front door and start up the driveway, something shifts almost immediately. Before I even hit the road, there's this smell, pine and dry wood and something earthy. It takes me straight back to camping in the foothills as a kid on a hot summer day. I can't fully describe it, but my body remembers it as safe. At first, my brain does what brains do. It runs the to-do list. It thinks about what I need to handle, what I didn't finish yesterday, what's coming up this week. But somewhere on the road, between the sound of the birds and the sight of a ground squirrel absolutely losing its mind over something in the grass, my brain gets quiet. And then I start noticing things I'm grateful for. And then, almost without trying, I start imagining the future, the person I'm becoming, the life I'm building, not with pressure, just with possibility. That is nervous system reset. That is what it actually feels like when your body believes it's safe. And here's the thing about the dogs. When I bring them along, it's a slightly different experience because I'm watching their body language instead of fully sinking into mine. They don't bark at much, but they do alert me to things I haven't noticed yet, which is either reassuring or slightly alarming depending on what's in the woods that morning. Either way, I feel better when I come back inside every time. You don't need a mountain road. You need whatever gives your nervous system the signal that says the coast is clear. You can stand down now. For some people, it's a song. For some, it's a hot shower with no agenda. And for some, it's 5 minutes of slow breathing with a longer exhale, which research shows can activate the vagus nerve and begin tipping your body towards calm in as little as 2 minutes. Small, consistent, real. You're not looking for a bigger vacation. You're looking for your version of the end of the driveway. And honestly, the fact that you're here trying to understand what's happening in your own body instead of just pushing harder, that counts. That's you being kind to your nervous system. It notices. And if this resonates with you, come back next week because we're going to talk about what it actually looks like to start rebuilding when you're running on empty. Not a to-do list, not a self-care checklist, something quieter than that. And in the meantime, come find me over on Facebook at Coleman Creations. I'd love to hear what your version of the end of the driveway looks like. What's the thing that actually helps your nervous system exhale? Drop it in the comments over there. I read everything. Progress doesn't come from pressure, it comes from clarity.